everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be going through my June reading wrap-up, talking about some of the books that I read, as well as highlighting some of the books from the first half of the year that I really liked, with an additional spread that I haven't done previously. But just to begin, I will mark off the 21 books that I read this month, and sadly none of them were part of my 23 books to read in 2023. But having read 21 books, my total for the year is now up to 112. I'm guessing by the end of the summer I will have hit my reading goal, but I don't want to extend it. I just want to be happy that I hit my reading goal earlier in the year. Moving on to my physical TBR, I was able to knock 2 books from this list, and that was Ocean's Echo and A Venom Dark and Sweet. I didn't have a chance to go and list all of the books that come out in June, so I will do that later and share all of the ones that I acquired next month. But moving on to one of my favorite challenges this year, which is my ABC challenge, I read 3 books that I will be able to use for my spread this month, and that was Pocahontas, Untethered Sky, and A Venom Dark and Sweet for P, U, and V. I've had people ask in my comments how I get the book covers for my spreads, and I basically just pull the covers straight from Goodreads, put them on my desktop, and then upload them into Canva, where I have a template that I created that I just put all of the books in and print them all out at once on sticker paper that I bought on Amazon. But the sticker paper is linked in the description, and like I said, just pull those covers straight from Goodreads. Moving on to my favorite book of the month for June, which was The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. I will say that this might even be one of the top contenders for my favorite book of the year. I loved it. I'll talk more about it later during the review process, but now we have my book club book for June. Our theme was translation, so we chose 13 Months of Sunrise by Rania Mamoun. This is a translation from a Sudanese author, and it's actually quite short, so I highly recommend that you pick it up. You should be able to read it in just one sitting. Here we have my Read More Diversely reading challenge. This month I read 2 books by Indigenous authors, and I am already halfway through a couple books by Latinx Hispanic authors, so I am definitely cruising through this challenge. It's been really great. I've never had such a diverse listing of books that I've read, and if you want to see all those books, be sure to follow me on Goodreads. Next up is a spread that I thought I should do since we are officially halfway through the year, and that is to kind of list out my favorite books through the months. I have a separate spread for my favorite book of the month, but because I do read quite a bit, it's very hard for me to pick just one book that I like each month, so I thought I would create a spread that showcases all of my favorite reads for 2023 so far, and I will say that the majority of them are 5-star rated books, or very high rated 4.5 star rated books. But for 2023 so far, I can't express how good my reading journey has been so far. I think because I've been more selective with the books that I've been reading. I haven't been giving in to TikTok or social media hype too much. I haven't been seeing small blurbs on social media and immediately reading that book and not liking it because the blurb provided absolutely no context to the book. I haven't been reading too many hyped books on social media just because of previous experience with that. I've really been looking at books that I've either already own or have wanted to read for a while and committing to reading those books. But as you can see, for January, my top books were The Bone Char Daughter by Andrea Stewart, Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su-Lin Tan, Blood Scion by Deborah Falaye, The Six and the Six Deaths of the Saint by Alex E. Haro. All of these were 5-star reads for me. For February, we have The Final Strife by Saara El-Arifi, The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. And then we have the second book in the Drowning Empire series, which is The Bone-Charred Emperor by Andrea Stewart. We have The Past is Red by Catherine M. Valente. And then for March, we have The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis, Nimona by M.D. Stevenson, and Depart Depart by Sim Kern. April was the only month so far this year where I didn't have any 5-star reads, but I still read quite a bit of really good books, including In a Garden Burning Gold by Rory Power, Camp Zero by Michelle Min Sterling, Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo, and The Inheritance of Urina Divina by Zaridia Cordova. For May, I finished the Drowning Empire series with The Bone-Charred War by Andrea Stewart, the second novel in Sarah El-Arifi's series, The Battle Drum. I also read A Master of Gin by P. Jelly Clark, and then T. Kingfisher's latest, A House with Good Bones. All of these but The Bone-Charred War were 5 stars. I loved The Bone-Charred War, but again, it's always hard to end a series, so I gave it a high 4.5 stars. And then we have June. We have a book I just talked about, The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. And then we have John Lewis's last book before he passed, Carry On. We have a book of poems by Safina El-Hilo, Girls That Never Die, and then an arc that I received, Shanghai Immortal by A.Y. Chow. Now moving on to my reviews for the month of June, I picked 8 of my favorite reads of the month. 2 of them not necessarily my favorites, but were a part of one of my reading challenges, so I did want to share my thoughts on those. Again, I just took some craft paper that I had on hand and made my typical collage title page and my demographics for the month as well. In regards to the genres that I read, only 8 of them were fantasy, while 6 were poetry, 4 were LGBTQIA+ themed, and then 3 were in the YA genre, 3 were in the nonfiction genre, 2 were sci-fi, 2 were contemporary, and 2 were political. For my ratings, I had a whopping 5 5-star reads, I had 9 4-star reads, 6 3-star reads, and 1 2-star read. In regards to the mood of the books, for the first time, adventurous was not number 1, but rather emotional. 12 books were in the emotional category, 11 were in reflective, 9 were in adventurous, 4 were mysterious, 4 were in the dark mood category, 3 were informative, and 3 were funny. For the demographics, 9 were by Caucasian authors, 4 were by AAPI authors, 4 were either bi or featured prominent LGBTQIA+ representation, 3 were by Middle Eastern or Arab authors, 3 were by Black or African authors, and 2 were by Indigenous authors. And then for the format, no surprise, the majority, in 86%, were in the audio format, and then 14% were in a digital format. And for the publishers, all 21 books that I read were traditionally published. None of them were indie authors. But for July, I have made it my mission to take advantage of the Kindle Unlimited subscription that I have not been using, and focusing more on a lot of the indie authors that I've been wanting to read. So next month, we'll see quite a change in the publisher graph. When it comes to keeping track of these stats, I do keep track in Storygraph. So I do have a Storygraph and Goodreads account, but Storygraph is better for keeping track of this type of information, and even custom information. Especially for the demographics, I keep track of that myself inside Storygraph. And then at the end of each month, I just pull the data from Storygraph and then upload it into Canva. And again, similar to my book pages and my book covers, I print out these graphs on the sticker paper, and then it makes it easy to just insert them into my notebook. Alright, now moving on to my book reviews for the month, starting off with Ocean's Echo. by Everina Maxwell. This is kind of a sequel to Winter's Orbit. It does take place in the same universe, but isn't a direct sequel. It has completely new characters. And in this one, you're taken on a new space adventure that's filled with captivating science fiction and even a touch of romance, which is what Maxwell is known for. Her skill for crafting engaging narratives shines through, but this particular story didn't really resonate with me as deeply as its predecessor. One of the highlights of Ocean's Echo, though, is Maxwell's ability to create intricate and imaginative science fiction worlds. The vivid descriptions and attention to detail bring the setting to life, and you really feel immersed in a richly constructed universe, and the impressive world-building elements showcase Maxwell's panache for creating compelling science fiction landscapes. And while Maxwell's talent for crafting engaging science fiction, fans of the genre will appreciate the imaginative world-building and the blend of adventure and romance. I listened to this on audiobook and I gave it 3 stars. Next up, we have an ARC that I received, and that was for Shanghai Immortal by A.Y. Chow. I absolutely adored this book. It is set in 1920s, the Roaring Twenties Shanghai, but it is set in 2 versions of Shanghai. Our main character is kind of a kitsune type creature plus vampire hybrid and lives in the hell realm of Shanghai and works for basically the king of hell, or not works for him but is his ward. Anyway, Shanghai Immortal was an absolute delight that exceeded my expectations and made me feel like I was in the dazzling world of jazz era Shanghai, with a snarky and hilarious main character coupled with a vivid depiction of the era and a sweet love story and a little bit of mystery to uncover. The story follows Lady Jing, a half-vampire, half-Hulijing fox spirit who finds herself pawned to the King of Hell as a child. Lady Jing's sass and fiery personality make her an incredibly endearing and entertaining protagonist. Her witty and sarcastic remarks had me howling with laughter throughout the book, and Chow has truly crafted a memorable and lovable character. But what sets Shanghai Immortal apart is its vivid depiction of jazz-era Shanghai. The author's attention to detail and atmospheric descriptions bring the settings to life, immersing readers into a vibrant world. I read this as a digital advanced copy and I gave it 5 stars. Next up, we have A Scatter of Light by Melinda Lowe. Similar to Ocean's Echo, this is a follow-up to one of Lowe's previous works, Night at the Telegraph Club. However, while this does focus on different characters, it is set in the same universe, and you even hear about the characters from Last Night at the Telegraph Club, but this takes place in more present-day San Francisco, but has a lot of the same themes, such as coming of age and discovering your queerness. But this serves as a wonderful follow-up to her first book, and the narrative strikes a delicate balance between introspection and plot progression, allowing for both quiet moments of reflection and moments of tension and excitement. The present-day San Francisco setting is vividly rendered, providing a rich backdrop for the narrative. Lowe's attention to detail and ability to evoke a sense of place make the city come alive, and the incorporation of real-world locations and cultural references adds an extra layer of authenticity. This novel is a must-read for fans of coming-of-age stories and those who appreciate authentic and diverse YA literature. I listened to this on audiobook and I gave it 4 stars. Next, we have not Thistlefoot, but Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. Leigh is probably most known for her Jade City fantasy trilogy. This is my first introduction to Fonda Lee, so I might actually be grateful for that because this is a short novella, and I hear a lot of people complain that the shortness of it didn't really let them get invested in the story, but I actually found the opposite to be true. The pacing of the narrative is well handled, moving at a brisk pace, and each scene serves a purpose, propelling the story forward and maintaining a sense of anticipation. So despite its shorter length, Untethered Sky manages to create a fully realized and immersive world that readers can easily become engrossed in. This was another audiobook listen for me this month, and I gave it 4 stars. Next up, we have my favorite read of the month, The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. Shannon Chakraborty is a very well-known author in terms of her stories about Middle Eastern and Arab cultures and traditions and mythology, and while this is my first book that I've read by her, it definitely won't be the last. I loved her writing and her storytelling and her character development and her world building. I thought it was absolutely immaculate in terms of the story that she created. This book focuses on an older character, Amina, who is our main protagonist. She is a remarkable character who steals the show. Her bravery, wit, and determination make her instantly endearing, and readers will find themselves cheering her on as she embarks on her high seas adventures to find the kidnapped daughter of one of her former crew members. Chakraborty crafts a complex and layered protagonist who is easy to root for and invest in. The themes of found family and forbidden magic add depth and emotional resonance to the story. Amina's interactions with the diverse and well-developed supporting cast highlight the importance of chosen relationships and the bonds we create outside of blood ties. Chakraborty's world building is also masterful, bringing the vibrant and diverse cultures of the Middle East to life. The high seas adventures are filled with excitement, danger, and discovery, taking readers on a thrilling ride throughout the Indian Ocean. I listened to this on audiobook and gave it 5 stars. Next up, we have Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott. This book is a dark and quirky delight that is filled with Eastern European lore, captivating magic, and a heartwarming sibling relationship that comes together within the confines of a mysterious house that they inherit from their grandmother. And that grandmother is supposed to be a descendant of the Baba Yaga story. You kind of get all of these dual points of view and timelines, and so I think the author did a good job of weaving those together quite nicely. The sibling relationship at the heart of the story is one of the highlights. The bond between the two main characters is complicated, showcasing a mix of love, loyalty, and the complexities that come with family dynamics. And the dark and quirky elements of the story are balanced with moments of humor and tenderness, creating a unique atmosphere that keeps readers hooked. I listened to this on audiobook and I gave it 4 stars. And lastly, we have Carry On by John Lewis. This is an inspiring collection that pays tribute to the late congressman's remarkable life and legacy. Reading more about John Lewis only deepened my admiration for him, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness knowing that he is no longer with us. However, this book reminded me that his influence and impact live on, continuing to inspire and guide those who seek to evoke change in the world. This book shares his wisdom, experiences, and reflections, offering valuable insights and lessons for a new generation of activists and public servants. His words are powerful, resonating with a sense of urgency and hope. And this book is a testament to the lasting impact of John Lewis and a reminder that his legacy lives on in the hearts and actions of those who were fortunate enough to know him and those who continue to be guided by his example. I listened to the audiobook, which was narrated by Don Cheadle, and I gave this 5 stars. And lastly, we have the conclusion to the Book of Tea duology, and that was A Venom, Dark and Sweet by Judy I. Lin. This is a young adult duology that focuses on tea magic, and while the first book didn't really contribute a whole lot to the genre, I sadly have to say that neither did this book, but it was on my physical TBR list, so I wanted to share. Not that it was a bad book, but I didn't find myself becoming fully invested in the narrative. I appreciate the unique magic system and the effort put into building an immersive setting. Lin's world building is a standout feature of these books. The vivid descriptions and attention to detail bring the setting to life, allowing readers to easily envision the fantastical elements. The magic system adds depth and intrigue to the story, providing interesting twists on traditional fantasy tropes. Although the story didn't completely captivate me, I can acknowledge that there are moments of intrigue and suspense throughout. If you're looking for a fantasy series with an interesting premise and a well-built world, this duology may be worth exploring. I listened to both the first and the second book on audiobook, and I gave both 3 stars. This is my June 2023 reading wrap-up, as well as my favorite reads of 2023 so far. If you want to see all of the books that I read in the month of June, be sure to follow me on Goodreads, linked below, and if you liked what you saw today, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss any of my upcoming videos, including my July wrap-up. Until next time, happy reading!